What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Shuffle Squad's YouTube channel. I'm Jarek, and today I'll be going over one of my favorite post-rotation decks. And you guessed it, that's the Cheese Stick Man himself, Gholdengo EX. Without further ado, let's dive right into a deck list. So the star of the show is obviously Gholdengo EX. For just one metal energy, its attack Make It Rain, which, by the way, is one of the best attack names in all of Pokemon history, does 50 damage, times the amount of basic energy cards you discard from your hand. This potentially gives you the ability to one-shot anything that could stand in your way. The ability coin bonus, it also lets you draw one card when the Gholdengo's anywhere on the field, but if it's in the active spot, you get to draw two cards. So not only is it your main attacker, but it's also a great source of draw. As far as the Gimmighoul line, right now I'm preferring a 2-2 split, 2 with 50 HP. The call for family attack is great in a pinch, especially if you go second, and the one retreat cost isn't too shabby either. And then I'm playing the 70 HP ones because right now I don't know how the format's going to shape up. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of devolution decks, if we're going to see a lot of Lost Box decks, things like Meowscarada EX, anything that could kind of ping us and devolve us all at once. So as of right now, I'm sticking with this 2-2 split until the meta defines itself. The best supporting partner is going to be the Palkia VSTAR. Obviously, we all know what Subspace Swell does. And considering that benches are pretty full in the Pokemon TCG, Palkia is a nice mid-range attacker, pretty low maintenance since it can power itself up with Star Portal, and it allows you kind of that early game pressure while you're building your board. Star Portal is also really good to power up the Radiant Greninja. Obviously, Moonlight Shuriken, doing 90 damage to two of your opponent's Pokemon, is really, really strong. Mind you, Radiant Greninja is another main engine in this deck, as you can discard an energy, draw two cards. So, kind of all game, you have the Gholdengo to coin bonus and draw up cards. You have Greninja to discard energy and draw more cards. Really, you're just going to be drawing a lot of cards. And then obviously Manaphy, just to protect your little Gimmighouls before they evolve up. Hopping on over the supporters, right now I'm choosing to play 4 Irida. Irida kind of helps you find everything you need in your deck. Early game, it's really good to find Radiant Greninja, Manaphy if you need it, Palkia to get it established. Helps you find any items you might need throughout the game, and I think playing 4 of is a no-brainer. 2 Boss's Orders. So in previous lists, I used to play 1 Boss's Orders, 4 Cross-Switchers, but without Cross-Switchers in format anymore, I think I need to up this count to 2 Boss's Orders because I do need at least 2 Gust effects. Obviously, there's more Gust effects with Prime Catcher and the potential reuse of Boss with Pal Pad, but we'll get into the items later. And one of the newest supporters that I think is really, really strong in this deck is going to be the Cryptomaniac's Deciphering. What this supporter does is let you search your deck for any 2 cards and put them right on top of your deck. And you guessed it, this pairs perfectly with Coin Bonus. Again, when Gholdengo's in the active spot, you could Coin Bonus and draw 2 cards. And even if you have 2 on the bench, you could draw 1 and then use a second one to Coin Bonus again and draw that second card you just put on top. It also pairs really well with Radiant Greninja, but basically, this sets up combos for anything you might be missing. Sometimes you might need extra energy. Sometimes you might be missing a Pokemon, superior energy retrieval. The Cryptomaniac's Deciphering, I think, is a really, really strong supporter, especially in Gholdengo EX. In past decks, we've seen how cards like Mallow have been really strong in the Zoroark GX deck with its use of trade, so I think here we can kind of utilize the same concept. I'd like to up this count a little bit more, but as of right now, this is what I'm playing with. To round off our supporters, I'm playing 1 Iono. Again, Iono doesn't need explanation. Universally great supporter. Early game, late game disruption. Just overall a great supporter. And then Roxanne. Roxanne I used to play previously too in pre-rotation decks, as I'm playing right now. Roxanne, I think, is the best disruption card in format, and I think I always want to have one in the deck. And let's take a look at the item count. The 4 superior energy retrieval is a no-brainer. When you're using Make It Rain over and over all game long, you're going to need superior energy retrieval to take energies out of the discard pile to put them into your hand so you can keep swinging for big one-hit knockouts. Now, the ball count here is the most interesting. With the loss of Battle VIP Pass, our turn 1s now aren't super dependent on it, so I'm choosing right now 3 Nest Ball, 3 Ultra Ball. I'd like to maybe play 4 Nest Ball just to help that earlier game consistency, but right now 3-3 has felt fine, especially with the addition of a new card, Buddy Poffin, that I'm also choosing to play 3 of. Buddy Poffin lets you search your deck for 2 Pokemon with 70 HP or less and put them right onto your bench. So it's a weaker version of Battle VIP Pass, but in this deck, it does help us find our Manaphy, it helps us find our Gimmighouls. The only thing it can't find, which hurts a little bit, is our Radiant Greninja or our Palkia lines, which is why I do want to play 4 Nest Ball, because getting a Palkia V down turn 1 is important in almost every matchup, and so is getting down the Radiant Greninja. I've also upped my current count of Earthen Vessels to 3. Again, playing 4 Irida, you can easily search them out whenever you need, and then it's a great way to get energy out of your deck. Whether you use that energy to draw with Radiant Greninja, or to just attack with Make It Rain, either way, 3 Vessels feels good right here. I'm also playing 1 Hisuian Heavy Ball. Again, by playing 4 Irida, it's going to be really easy to find it if you need it, especially if you prize your Radiant Greninja or Manaphy when you need them. I'm playing 1 Energy Retrieval. 1 Energy Retrieval is really good. You don't have to discard any cards, and you can take 2 energy cards from your discard pile, put them right back into hand. I think that's a mainstay in the deck. And then I'm also choosing to play 1 Super Rod. Whether you want to recycle energy, recycle Pokemon, I think 1 Super Rod is definitely necessary. Now, another new addition to the deck, I'm playing 1 Switch. Again, without cross-switchers, we really don't have a way to pivot in and out of the active anymore. So I think playing 1 Switch is necessary now. You do need a way to pivot, just in case you ever want to attack with something else. You want to move something out of the active to prevent it from getting KO'd. Having a Switch is just good in general. 1 Pal Pad, that way we can reuse our supporters. And then when we're PokéStopping aggressively, or using PokéStop aggressively, I should say, sometimes we can discard our one-of supporters like Roxanne and Iono. Pal Pad's a good way to get them back. And it's also a good way to get back boss's orders in case we want an extra gust effect. I'm still playing 1 Canceling Cologne. Again, the combination of gusting up a Manaphy, using Canceling Cologne, and then Star Portal to Radiant Greninja to Moonlight Shuriken on 2 of your opponent's Pokemon is really, really strong, especially in the early game against decks like Charizard, decks like Lost Box. Knocking out 2 Pokemon right away is always a good thing. And our ace spec of choice for this deck, obviously, again, it's another no-brainer. It's going to be Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher is a gust effect that lets you switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon to the active, and then you get to switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. So for those of you that remember Guzma, it's literally Guzma, but in item form. Extremely, extremely powerful. I can't believe we got this as an item, especially we can search it out with Irida. We can hit it off of PokéStop. I think this is the only ace spec that you can play in this deck. And for the stadium count, I decided to cut back and go to 3 stadiums. Now that Path to the Peak is no longer in our format, and that means there's nothing that could shut off our abilities stadium-wise, so I think it's okay to not play the full 4. But of course, we still are going to play 2 PokéStop, as we do want to use it aggressively to burn through our deck and to find items when we need it, such as Superior Energy Retrieval or the new Prime Catcher. But our deck is mostly items, so PokéStop should normally yield us cards that we need. And then a new stadium, Metal Lab, I'm playing 1 of. What that does is your Metal-type Pokemon take 30 less damage from your opponent's active Pokemon attacks. And this is really good, especially in the Giratina matchup. Lost Impact only hits for 280. With Metal Lab in play, you effectively have 290 HP, so you would survive a Lost Impact. And then the energy count, 7 water and 3 metal, that hasn't changed. I still think it's the most optimal, and that's what we're going to keep it at for now. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of our matchups. So Charizard EX is going to be a huge contender, especially early on post-rotation. I think it might be the best deck in the format. Whether people choose to play the Bib version or the Pidgeot version, the deck is still incredibly strong. However, that probably still is one of our better matchups, as we can easily one-shot a Charizard EX with Make It Rain, and until we take the correct amount of prize cards, they cannot easily one-shot us back, especially with early game pressure from Palkia VSTAR or early game pressure from Greninja's Moonlight Shuriken. Charizard should be a pretty easy matchup. Another popular matchup is going to be against Chien-Pao EX. Again, this is another favorable matchup for us, as Gholdengo does hit Chien-Pao for weakness, so they're going to need to use a lot more resources to continuously string one-hit KOs on our Pokemon, while we have to use minimal resources to take one-shots on them. Again, Radiant Greninja early on can also pick off the Frigibacks, so I think this matchup is going to be pretty easy. One matchup that I think gets a lot easier and is actually favorable for us post-rotation is the Giratina V-Star matchup. The most annoying thing when playing against Giratina V-Star with this deck pre-rotation was Path to the Peak. Now, since Path to the Peak rotates, Giratina V-Star does not have a way to stop us from using coin bonus. While they still can disrupt us with things like Iono and late game Roxanne's, they can't stop coin bonus and Radiant Greninja's concealed cards, so we can still draw into most of our deck. And again, with the new Stadium Metal Lab, I think this matchup becomes favorable for us. The Mew VMAX matchup no longer matters. Mew rotates, so we don't have to worry about it. Lost Box decks, though, I think it's still going to stay in the same spot. Again, we're going to just want to pressure early with Radiant Greninja and try to disrupt them, later in the game. That way they can't string off big combos to close the game out on us. So Roxanne is a really big card in any Lost Box matchup. Again, we could use it again with Pal Pad, or we could even Iono, and then Pal Pad Iono, and use the Iono again. Now, I also wanted to talk about some of the newer decks that are going to enter the format. One of them is the Ancient Box deck with the Roaring Moon that has 140 HP. It's a one-prize deck, and it's pretty bulky. I haven't tested the matchup enough yet to give, a full educated response as if this is a favored or unfavored matchup. However, it does seem a bit difficult at first, just because there are one-prize Pokemon that will eventually be taking one-hit KOs on our two-prize Pokemon. So as of right now, I don't think this is a favorable matchup, and I don't know if there's ways we could swing it unless we're playing one-prize attackers ourselves. But until the format shapes up, we're going to have to see, is this deck really a contender, or is it something we don't really have to worry about? Another popular post-rotation matchup is probably going to be Lugia V-Star. With the new Cinccino coming out, I think Lugia is going to be a very strong contender right out of the gates. And since they're going to be using one-prize Pokemon to one-shot our two-prize Pokemon, it seems like we would trade unfavorably with them. But I feel like if we use Greninja and we're able to pressure them early, hit them in Chinos before they're able to evolve, we might have a shot. Again, I haven't tested that matchup enough to give a full educated response on it, but I do think from the looks of it, it is going to be slightly unfavorable. Now, I know my deck list may not be perfect, but this is kind of where I'm at heading into post-rotation, so I also want to take a second to talk about potential inclusions into this deck list. One of the first things is going to be Morty's Conviction. One of the things this deck lacks right now is a true draw supporter. Outside of Iono and Roxanne, which are more there for disruption than draw, I'm not really playing any draw supporters in the deck. Again, I think that's fine. We have coin bonus without Path to the Peak to shut it off. I think we should be fine. And Radiant Greninja's concealed cards ability to draw cards, again, I think we should be fine. And then using things like Cryptomaniac's Deciphering and Irida, we should be able to pick through our deck and find whatever we need each and every turn. But Morty's Conviction could actually be a really good card here. What it does is it lets you discard a card from your hand, and then you draw up to, you draw a card for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Considering most benches are typically full in this current format, you should be able to draw 4 to 5 cards each and every time you use this card. Again, I don't know what I'd cut for it just yet, and I don't know if this card has any merit in the deck. Usually when you're drawing that many cards, you're probably looking for things like a superior energy retrieval or energies to take a knockout, which in that case Irida's just better because you can guarantee the superior for the knockout. You can guarantee an Ultra Ball if you're looking for another Pokemon. So again, I'm kind of messing around with this. I don't know if it has a place in the deck just yet, but it is probably my favorite draw supporter that I could include in this deck. Another potential inclusion in this deck could be the addition of a Scyther Scizor line. The Scizor from Obsidian Flames for 1 Metal Energy. Its Punishing Scissors attack does 50 damage times the amount of abilities on your opponent's Pokemon in play. Again, this is a really good one-prize attacker. Could be good into things like Lost Box. But again, it doesn't solve our problem with one-prize decks that don't have abilities like the new Roaring Moon deck. And the last initial inclusion I'd like to add to the list is the Palafin, actually from Temporal Forces. It has 150 HP, and for 1 water energy, it actually just hits a clean 130 damage. Again, it does 10 damage less for each damage counter on that Pokemon, but it should usually have full HP when you're attacking with it initially. It's pretty bulky at 150 HP. It's a really low energy requirement. Again, it could be really cool as a one-prize attacker to help offset the prize trade a little bit. I just don't know what I would cut, but it's definitely something I would keep my eye on. And there you have it. That's my current deck list for post-rotation Gholdengo EX. Again, we do need to see how the meta shapes up. That way we can see what decks are good matchups for us, what decks present themselves as bad matchups for us. That way we can figure out what cards need to be added to the list, what cards could be cut, and other things like that. Do you have any potential inclusions that I missed that you want to add into the deck? Or do you want to talk about my list and my deck counts? If you do, just leave that down in the comments down below, and we can go over it and maybe find the perfect 60 for this deck. As always, if you like the content over here at the Shuffle Squad, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video, and leave a like on this video too, as it really does help with the algorithm. Well, that's it for me today, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. Hey trainers, tired of having too many cards lying around? I know that feeling, and I know what a hassle it is to try and sell those cards. But selling bulk is now easier than ever with TCG Bulk. Find tons of potential buyers in a single place. You just download the app, look for the best buyer near you, and carefully pack your bulk, ship it, and you get paid. It really is that simple. Turn the cards you don't want into the cards you absolutely need for your next deck. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.